listening to Wake Up and Read the Labels, your guide to eating simple and feeling good. If you want to eat clean and feel your best, guess what? You're in the right place. Each week, we talk about ingredients that may be holding you back from feeling your best. We also talk to some brands that are going against the grain and actually using real ingredients we can recognize. Plus, we're sharing stories with people who are just like you, who actually woke up and read the labels. Welcome to Wake Up and Read the Labels podcast. I was going to say my name's Jen Smiley. You guys know my name's Jen Smiley. You need to know who Jen Smiley's talking to. I'm talking to Dr. Erin Ellis, who's a naturopathic doctor that helps women balance their hormones, fix crappy periods, and regain energy they once had so that each of you listening can be your happiest and healthiest selves. I hope this conversation helps you figure out maybe what's wrong with your cycle, or do you have chronic inflammation? What even is inflammation? Welcome, Dr. Erin. How are you?
I'm great, Jen. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Do you want me to call you Dr. Erin or Dr. Ellis?
Either one. Doesn't matter. Whatever you feel like.
I didn't know if you were known by one or another. But why don't you quickly identify what is inflammation? Because you'd be shocked. I'm certain that so many people have inflammation, but I get this message all the time. They're like, I don't even know what inflammation is. Do I have it? How do I know if I have it? I'm like, wow, that's amazing. You don't know if you have inflammation, but it seems is that a recurring theme? People don't even know?
Yeah. And it's something that's actually like really natural. So it's a natural response, by our body to some sort of stimulus, whether that's an injury, maybe an infection. It could be dehydration. It could be maybe something you ate. It's really hard to pinpoint exactly where inflammation is in the body. But there's markers that we can draw via labs that can indicate if we're in, an inflamed state. Now, that could also be something from very minor to very kind of an issue, right? Which can lead to worsening effects on, cardiovascular system, et cetera. So, inflammation really is natural. It's a protective process, but we're always looking at, well, why is, these levels, increased, or why do we have the inflammation to begin with? What's driving the inflammation? And if we have inflammation, that can lead to other imbalances in the body. So it's really important to identify the why, like everything else in the body.
So let's say you cut yourself, right? That is acute inflammation that's going after that and making the skin red and, the scab, things like that, right? That's a good inflammation. The problem with America that I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're the expert here, is we live in chronic inflammation of things we're being exposed to in the environment, through our cosmetics, through our food. What else?
Yeah, the toxins, any toxin really. I would say stress is a huge one. So that's probably one that a lot of you might not realize, that stress can actually increase inflammation. What else? Poor sleep is a huge one. Dehydration, lack of movement, all of that can drive inflammation.
Are you wanting to eat better, but this clean eating thing's just a bit overwhelming? Maybe you just don't know what to cook, or you don't know how to find the clean product swaps at the grocery store. Well, I want to make this simple for you. You can get clean swaps and an anti-inflammatory recipe delivered to your inbox every Saturday by going to thelabelletter.com. Okay, so how does someone know exactly when they're testing for inflammation? How do they know what's the driver? How do they know, it's that you're not getting enough sleep, or, it's because you're stressed? Is there a way to identify that?
That is usually something that I do when I meet with every patient, is go through, your entire health history and look at all of your lifestyle things that you do. How is your sleep? How much water are you getting? What does your diet look like? What are your stress levels? What are you doing to take care of yourself? Are you moving your body? Are you drinking alcohol? That's another driver of inflammation. How much sugar do you consume? All of these things. Like I said, it's really hard to just say, oh, you have inflammation because of X. It could be a combination of various things. And that's why, diving into a really in-depth health history is super important to really target the why and what is the inflammation for you, because it could be different for me than it is you.
Okay, so we have many listeners out there. Some are younger, some are older, some are premenopause, or I guess I would say perimenopause. My husband often tells me, "You're in perimenopause." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm 39 years old. I'm not there yet." I can be. I don't think I am, though. So what are these signs of inflammation for listeners so that they can maybe say, "Oh, wait, maybe that is a possibility that I need to get tested"?
Well, it could be anything from bloat to feeling poofy. That's a big way that I describe it. It's like maybe you have joint pain or joint aches. You just feel kind of achy. Obviously, swelling is a big one. I can notice a lot of times inflammation decreases in someone's face, that maybe they came to the office and they seemed a little bit inflamed. And then, we do a follow-up months later and I can tell in their face that they've lost, some inflammation. So, your body best. And even like for me, like working on my own health journey years ago, I would look at pictures from years ago and I'm like, oh my gosh, my face was so poofy. That's the best way I can explain it. Not fat, right? Just kind of just poofy, inflamed. And now, I feel like it looks a lot different than it did, several years ago. And that's because I've done a lot of work on myself to help detox from things that likely could have been contributing to the inflammation, and cleaning up the diet and not drinking alcohol and things like that. So hard to say exactly, again, like what are the symptoms? It really could be anything. You could manifest it in headaches, brain fog, like I said, bloating, gas, things like that can all be symptoms of inflammation.
Okay. So this was a few years ago, and I think we're still kind of seeing it. I don't know if it was the food industry or if it was the clothing industry that made a campaign of like, love yourself. And they put really big oversized models all over. Do you remember this? And we
yes, but I'm not sure which.
Yeah, we still industry. See a little bit of it, but it's like for a lot of people who are bloated or inflamed, I think it was the food industry, actually. My husband told me once he found out it was some company that started it, where it was like, love yourself, even if you're heavier and you're bigger and all these things. And it's like, we as a society have tried to normalize being overweight and normalize bloating and normalize almost being inflamed, that, oh no, you're just a bigger person. And I guess I just want to bring that up because I don't know. I think it's crazy. I think that we need to put our foot down and say, no, that's not normal. We shouldn't be celebrating being inflamed, right? That's celebrating sickness and celebrating metabolically being unhealthy. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I don't even have anything to say to that.
You're like, Jen, why are you going there? Okay. So is this chronic inflammation? Is this a possible major cause of hormone imbalance?
It could be. Absolutely. So again, chicken before the egg. Was it the inflammation that caused the hormone imbalance, or was the hormone imbalances that caused the inflammation? That's something that sometimes we might not ever know, but usually an underlying factor is I see a huge stress response, especially because I treat a lot of women, and everyone, even men, even children, like everyone has stress. It's just something that's part of our daily life. But then there's people that are in a chronic state of, a high amount of stress that they don't deal well with, or their body doesn't deal well with stress, or they're not managing it well. So that's what's important, is to understand that stress isn't going to go away. We just need to learn how to manage and deal with it. And that's a huge driver of inflammation that can be therefore infecting our hormones. Estrogen, for example, if it's higher in the body than it should, or higher than normal in the body, that could be a cause of inflammation. So managing and balancing the hormones can reduce the inflammation process. So again, it's chicken before the egg. We don't really know what's causing what, or which was, your case, the hormones or the inflammation.
Okay. So do you have like 2 or 3 ways that maybe listeners can de-stress. How do you deal better with stress?
So I like to say,
it's a loaded question.
Yeah, well, it's a fun question that I ask most every mom or woman that comes into my office. It's like, when was the last time you had fun? And most of them look at me with a deer in headlights, like, what? I'm supposed to have fun? How am I supposed to have fun? I'm trying to do all of the things, right? And I always say that it has to be something that you want to do, not that your family wants to do, not that your children want to do. Because a lot of times moms are like, oh, I play with my kids and that's fun for me. Okay, well, you're playing with them because you're a mom and you kind of have to play with them. They're your children, right? But I want you to do something that's fun for you. So I also do another analogy, like if you had no job, you were retired, your kids are gone, you literally had all the time in the world, what would you do?
Do you want to know what I would do?
What?
I think I would go move to one of those retirement communities with people over the ages 50 plus. It's like 50 to 70. And they live in some beautiful golf course place in Arizona. And it looks like they play golf all day with each other. And then they plan little excursions out, or they meet at the country club and they hang out and they have fun. I'm like, this looks like a good 6 months of living right here. But I'm curious, what do a lot of moms want to do for fun?
They don't.
Like, we don't know how to have fun.
Exactly. Because our life is so busy that there's no time for that. But you have to make time. It's very, very important for your nervous system. It's very, very important for your brain.
Okay.
It's very, very important for your hormones. It's so important to have fun and doing something that fills your cup rather than you filling everybody else's cup, because that's what moms do. It's like they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first in the plane, right? Well, we need to do that in daily life. And it doesn't have to be extravagant things. It could be 10, 15 minutes a day. Mm-hmm. But it's so important that you put yourself first every single day for a little bit of time to remember, to come back to yourself, because we're so busy giving to everyone else.
Do you have any recommendations for listeners and women how to have fun? Because maybe they forgot what fun is.
Yeah. And I say, walk yourself in the bathroom, maybe take a bath, listen to a podcast like our podcast, go drive around the neighborhood and listen to your favorite music and jam out like a crazy person in the car. Who cares? Go for a hike, go for a walk. A lot of my moms like to use exercise as a stress reliever. However, exercise is a stressor. So I don't count exercise as a stress reliever. I think it's really obviously really good for your body, but it can be a stressful thing and can increase inflammation too if, you already have a lot to begin with. So, I mean, it could be anything. Go to a cooking class, do a painting class, learn to dance, try a new hobby, like something that you've always wanted to do that.
Now tell me this. I know this is, I love all your ideas of fun, but I was like, man, when is the last time that I had fun? Last time I had fun was my 20-year high school reunion in October in New Orleans. And we stayed out till like 3 a.m., probably drinking a little too much. Clean things, but that was pretty fun. But that probably was not fun for my body, right? I'm sure. I mean, look, I came home, I took some charcoal pills. I think I ended up taking up enzymes for dinner beforehand, which all help digest metabolically, the alcohol and the bad food. I felt fine the next day, but that's not a recommendation of good fun. Is it, Dr. Erin?
Well, that is like situational fun. We're talking like, what are you going to do every single day? Mostly every single day, or maybe at least once a week. That's fun for you. Like for me, it's reading. It's, puzzling, doing things that I like, that really calm my nervous system down and that I find enjoyment in. And it's like what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Mine's cooking, I would say.
Oh, and cooking. Yes. I've been loving cooking. I'm making sourdough right now.
Nice.
So doing, random things like that.
Yeah. When I cook, I'm like, hey, Alexa, put on spa music. And then no one's in the house. I'm like, this is great. This is great. I love this. Okay. So that's some ways to de-stress. Great recommendations, by the way. Let's talk about managing hormones. And also when we're testing for hormones and we're testing for inflammation, is this something people are getting notified just by going to their regular conventional doctors once a year, getting their labs done? Like, are they being alerted to this stuff?
Not unless you ask.
Such a bummer, right? People are like, oh, well, I go to my doctor and they look at my labs and they tell me I'm within normal range. And I tell them, listen, everyone in America has we've shifted this bell curve. Am I right? And so normal is normal for everyone you see around you. And if you look around, everyone's sick, everyone's on medication, everyone's fatigued, everyone's overweight, everyone's bloated, everyone's inflamed, everyone's starving. You don't want to be normal, you guys. You want to be optimal. Yeah.
Oh, and that's exactly what I preach every single day.
Okay. So
normal does not equal optimal.
Yes. So preach that to me. If I were coming into your office and I'm like, hey, Dr. Erin, I am going to my doctor. They're telling me everything looks normal, but I'm, my hair is falling out. I'm bloated all the time. My periods are super heavy. What's the deal? What would you tell me?
So the ranges on labs, if you ever looked at them, are 0 to 1,000,000. It depends on the lab, right? So if you fit into that range, you're deemed normal. However, you could be on the high end of that range. You could be on the very low end of that range. And when it comes to hormones specifically, it really depends on where you are. If you are menstruating when those labs were drawn, because your hormones are different throughout the different phases of our menstrual cycle. So typically on hormone labs that come back that I've run, it's very rare to see something abnormal, like high or low, flagging, right? Red or whatever color it is on your labs. But it takes a practitioner to know where you are in the menstrual cycle to deem it normal or optimal and be like, hey, your estrogen is way higher than it should be where you are in your menstrual cycle. But look, it looks like it's normal, right? But that's not optimal. So also back to you saying my hair's falling out and I'm tired. It's there's something going on. Don't stop at normal. You don't feel well. Symptoms are messages, and it's your body telling you that something is not right and imbalanced, and don't stop at normal because guess what? You don't feel normal. So they're missing something, or it's not being read right, or they need to test more, or you just haven't found the right provider that's going to interpret your labs correctly. So don't stop at normal. That's the worst word. I hate that word. And it doesn't mean optimal, just like you said. And it's based off the average population. And I don't want to be average. I know you don't want to be average. So don't stop at, everything's fine. I'll see you again in a year.
So if someone is either they are feeling like maybe their hormones are out of whack, or they're having this slight inclination, what are the symptoms they're going to be experiencing? Is it the same exact things we talked about, inflammation? And if your hormones are out of whack, does that mean you're inflamed?
Mm-hmm. Not always. Nope.
Okay.
So other symptoms of hormone imbalance, anything with the menstrual cycle, from heavy periods to no period to irregular periods, to you have cramps that are debilitating. You can't get out of bed. You're exhausted. Maybe you have headaches. Maybe your mood is all over the place. One minute you're happy, the next minute you're sad, the next minute you want to, chop someone's head off. Your libido's in the toilet. Maybe you can't sleep. You're getting hot flashes. You're gaining weight. Nothing's changed. Your hair's falling out. You have brain fog. The symptoms can go on and on and on. This is, your hormones are encompassing not just reproductive hormones, but your thyroid and your adrenal function, which is your stress hormone. So it's, your body is, really should be addressed as a whole and not just, pinpointed in one area, that's what conventional medicine is. There's no fault to it. We need them, but if you really want to get a good look at your whole body, you need to see a functional medicine doctor or naturopathic doctor to really get a look at you as a whole.
Okay. And how exactly do you fix your periods?
Well, that's what I love doing. It's really getting to the root of, what's wrong with it? Is it, conditions like PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome? Is it that you're not ovulating? Are you in perimenopause? Are you in menopause? I'm starting to see menopause a lot earlier in years. I've seen menopause start in our early 40s, which is, really disturbing.
Why? What's driving that, do you think?
I think our environment. Also, some of them have been trauma related, like a traumatic experience that just sucked the life out of them. To say it nicely, it's like, all right, well, my ovaries are done. But I think a lot of it is environmental. Same thing with like seeing early menarche or women starting menstrual cycles at, age 8 or 9. Whereas when I grew up, it was like 12, 13, 14. So we're seeing it about, 5 years. Why is infertility increasing so much? I think a lot of it has to do with our environment and toxins and foods and dyes and all the things that you talk about.
Yeah. I'm all about the food, but like, what do you feel is in the environment, how we're being affected by that?
Everything from the plastics, the BPA, the glyphosate, PFAs, all of it. Everything that we're inhaling. I just am like these poor people in California with all the smoke inhalation and the air quality. I live in Arizona. Our air quality is horrible to begin with, but anything you can do to filter it, your air, your water, keep your body detoxing, on a regular basis with peeing, pooping, and sweating, just to get the stuff out of our body, working on liver support, all of it. We live in a toxic soup. We really do. There's toxins everywhere. I don't even know the statistic, but we as women, I think, are exposed to at least 300 different chemicals a day, whether that's what you're putting on your skin, your fragrance, our cleaning products, the clothing. You have to look at clothing now. It's just wild how many toxins there are that we are exposed to.
Due to just the modern world or consumerism? What is it?
I think both.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not in a simplistic world. If you think back, decades, centuries ago, and how simple things were, and now everything's, manufactured and made as less expensive as possible, right? Which, same thing with food. It's like, well, you pay more for better ingredients. Same thing with products. You got to pay a little bit more for cleaner ingredients. And a lot of it too, I think, is labeling, and the requirements are very tricky, and it's sneaky how they put in things and the requirements that you're not always supposed to or have to declare everything that's on a label. And a lot of times it's very vague. So I can't tell you countless times I've reached out to companies and like, can you explain where this comes from? What is this? Like, where's your testing for it? And a lot of them are not transparent. And if they're not transparent, I'm like, I'll see you later. I'm not using you. You can't tell me where your things come from. Like, why would I want to put that on my body? Right. So
do you have any recommendations you want to give to listeners to maybe lessen their toxic burden that they are experiencing every day?
Well, first, my biggest thing with anything is just becoming aware. You don't know what you don't know. Yeah.
And when you do know, you cannot unsee it.
No, you can't. And this literally just opened, like, with my own health journey. I was going to say earlier this year, it's earlier last year now, because we're now in 2025. But, sometimes we just lead with these blinders and we trust what we've been told. Well, you can't trust anything anymore. You literally have to do your own research. And I would go and literally look at every single ingredient on a label and Google it. Do your research, go on PubMed, go on Google Scholar and read about the health effects of X ingredient and be like, is this something that I want to put in my body? There are some resources that can help you if you don't have the time to do that. There's, Facebook groups, there's different apps. You still have to be careful with those. But yeah, it's just, and then reaching out to those companies and asking them directly and see their transparency, I think is huge.
Yeah, we actually have, this podcast will probably air in like March. So it'll definitely be out. But we have the Wake Up app coming out. You can go scan. Yeah, you can scan your item and you can see what all the ingredients are. And it will tell you if it's clean, kind of clean, or not clean. So clean is when all the ingredients are clean. Kind of clean is when there's like one ingredient that shouldn't be there. But if you got to eat the chip or you got to have that salsa, it's kind of clean. And let's see. So
is it going to be only for food?
Right now, yes, only for food.
Okay, cool.
But here's
that's great. We need a food one.
yeah, here's some chicken nuggets. And then you can click on like, okay, why would you not want rice flour? And it'll explain why that ingredient is not good. Like canola oil. Canola oil is high in inflammation, in omega-6s. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm excited.
I love that.
Read the Labels app. Yeah.
When's that coming out?
Actually, this Saturday. For everyone listening, we're recording in January.
It's old news in March.
This is old news. We already got thousands of users, people scanning every day, getting healthy, doing all the things. Okay, so food influence. That brings me to when you're working with someone, are they like, hey, Dr. Erin, I'm confused over which yogurt is clean and I'm confused over, if I should be eating cheese. How do you guide them to eat better?
Again, awareness. Simple. I like to make things simple and meet patients where they're at rather than being like, oh my God, you have to eat like this and you have to totally clean out your entire cupboard. I say, all right, if you are not sure if your yogurt is clean or you're just eating, say, Yoplait or Dannon or one that we know that is, probably not the cleanest, it's like, all right, don't throw it away. Like, I know that you spent money on that. The next time you go, let's get you a cleaner option. Maybe you change to Cocoa June or something you find on the Wake Up label or the Read the Labels app that's, cleaner for you. As far as like calories go and, women love carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are sugar and that can lead to inflammation. So I meet them where they're at. It's like, all right, for dinner, you're eating, say, a hamburger and you're having French fries or baked potato or beans or something, like all of those carbs. What about having your burger but without the bun? Meeting someone where they're at, or having an open face sandwich or a sandwich with just one piece of bread instead of two pieces of bread. And again, like making small swaps here and there, but it's more really just empowering and educating because I was taught a crap ton about nutrition and that's just from my degree. And you have probably, done a lot of schooling and even with just your own research. But the average person we don't get nutrition education in school. So again, you don't know what you don't know. And it starts with just becoming aware of like, all right, well, what am I consuming? And then how can I do better?
Yeah. And the fact that the food industry is what it is and the ingredients that we are being fed and told are healthy and like baked, right, and less fat, that goes to show you that the majority do not know anything about nutrition because we literally have blinders on and we're being confused and we're being duped into thinking this stuff is healthy. So brain fog. Brain fog comes from eating crappy ingredients, number one, right? But what is brain fog? What's causing it? Who is at risk? And how do you clear it naturally?
Gosh, well, again, this could be another symptom that's caused by a lot of things. It could be exactly what you're putting in your body. I have a great story about this just this week. Maybe it was yesterday. It was yesterday. I spoke to her and she wrote in her follow-up form before I met with her that she didn't even really know she had brain fog until she started feeling better. And she had more mental clarity and cognitive, like she just felt better up there. And what she had done was she removed gluten from her diet. And this was medically not celiac, but due to her thyroid, I wanted her to pull it. But she didn't even know she really had brain fog. So same thing with me. Like I react to brain fog. Like I feel very foggy when I eat gluten myself. So it could be anything from you just don't feel clear to maybe you just did something and you're like, oh my gosh, what was that? Or you wrote something down, you can't even remember it. Maybe you're stumbling people's names. Maybe you went into a room and you don't know why you went in there. Maybe you're floating off in space when someone's speaking to you and you can't even like focus on their conversation. It could be any of those symptoms. And could it be caused by food? 100%. Could it be caused by hormone imbalance? Absolutely. Could it be caused by vitamin deficiency? Absolutely. Could it be caused by inflammation? Sure. Could it be caused by dehydration, sleep, you name it. All of it could be a reason why. And then what do you do to fix it? Well, we have to figure out, well, what's the cause? Is it the food? Is it the lifestyle? Is it the hormones? Is it the vitamins? Could be anything. Could be a mixture of all of those things. So that's why I love doing what I do, is because we look at it all together and we figure out, where the imbalances are and then give the body what it needs. And guess what? You feel like $1 million.
Yeah. How does a session work with you?
So it starts off, I meet with all of my patients for about an hour, and it's going through your entire health from head to toe, what you've been through in the past. We talk about every single organ system. We talk about your bowel movements. We talk about your diet, your sleep, exercise, hydration, trauma, medications, what you've done in the past. What are your goals? I love hearing women's goals because they might come in with something that I think they want to work on, but that's not really one of their main goals. And then, what are their expectations, for this? A lot of times, I meet them too, where it's like, you're not going to get better overnight. We might have to do a little bit more digging, than the general things that I'll do to start. But if you haven't had labs done in a couple of years, let's start here and we'll go from there.
I see you're in Gilbert, Arizona.
That's when you said you wanted to do the half a year here. And I'm like, can I be your roommate?
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about, those little communities.
Yeah. When you said Arizona, I thought you realized you said I live here.
No. There is some vegan place. I want to say it's Scottsdale. Is it called Chocolate Tree? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Sounds familiar.
Chocolate Tree. It's really good. And then there's another really good smoothie place, but I think that might be Scottsdale. I don't know. So anyway, what I wanted to get to was, I know you have a menstrual cycle nutrition guide, and you also have 7 hormones affecting your weight loss goals. Is that a guide as well?
So that one actually is a video that you can watch. It's kind of like a little webinar.
I like that. 7 hormones affecting weight loss goals. Okay. So for all you listeners, if you just scroll down to the notes, you'll see those links there. You'll also see how to get in touch with Dr. Erin Ellis. If you have any questions, you can follow her on social media. Everything will be linked there. And hopefully this conversation helps people dig a little deeper into, do they have inflammation? What's inflammation doing to their body? What are their symptoms that are going unnoticed at their conventional doctor's office that they're talking to for 15 minutes? There's more to the story. All of your body parts work in sync with one another. And so if something's out of whack, you're going to see a lot out of whack, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to share?
No, just don't stop at normal. And if something's going on with your body and you don't feel yourself, keep asking questions. You deserve to feel like your best, healthy, happiest self.
I love it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Wake Up and Read the Labels. If you like this episode, guess what? We want you to share it. We'd love that. Share it with a friend and leave us a review. You can subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or really wherever you're listening to your podcast. For more information, visit us at wakeupandreadthelabels.com.